back to Secret Weapons, and today we're taking a look at the Del Mar by Bondi FX. There's a handful of pieces of gear in our industry over the past 10-15 years or so that have really kind of created a mythological niche for themselves. Pieces of gear that, due to their scarcity or their discontinuation, skyrocket in price, become incredibly hard to come by, but also are deeply in demand. The Bondi Del Mar is an interesting thing because I don't think the original run of these ever had kind of a mainstream fervor around it in the same way that something like the Klon or the King of Tone has had, as they have become increasingly difficult or slow to acquire. However, when the Del Mar was discontinued a few years back, prices on these skyrocketed on Reverb and places like that. I think I saw them at certain points breaking $1,000 for a Del Mar Overdrive. Now, should you be spending $1,000 on any Overdrive? The answer is no. But fortunately, you do not have to, because we're here today talking about the Del Mar's reemergence into the markets. This is the version 2 of the Del Mar. This is a heavily re-engineered, redesigned take on the original, taking everything that people loved about it and bringing down the noise floor, fine-tuning the circuitry inside of it, taking everything that John Ashley, the owner of Bondi, has obsessed over for the past couple of years. And I feel comfortable saying that because just in the interest of transparency and everything, John is a friend of mine and we talk pretty frequently. And the one thing that kind of permeates all of our conversations is his obsessive pursuit of kind of bettering his understanding of how circuitry works and his kind of constant drive to make his designs as close to perfect as possible. It's both fascinating to listen to and also proof positive that I do not know that much about the hardware side of this industry. I am in over my head in every single conversation. But what I can tell you is that pursuit of whatever perfection can be in this industry is something that feels well served in the Del Mar. Bondi's website would say that the Del Mar is the result of attempting to add tube screamer clipping to a Klon circuit. And you can definitely hear that in here, but I actually think the result is something a lot more versatile than what that might imply. I would say that this exists as some sort of Venn diagram between the clarity, treble boosting qualities of a Klon in the opposition of this toggle switch, the mid-focused, slightly compressed drive and focus of a tube screamer, and in the down position, the kind of open, airy, articulate, high headroom quality that you would get out of like a really good blues breaker riff. Not a real blues breaker, because I don't actually think those are that good, but a really good version of that kind of thing. It's fascinating. I think a lot of times in my head, I categorize different types of dirt circuits, especially overdrives, as kind of hyper-specific or kind of general purpose. I think most more transparent overdrives, I kind of put into a category of generalized transparent overdrive. It's your sound with a clipping stage, some boosting, that kind of thing, versus something like a tube screamer, which has a very clear and defined voice to it, or something like a Klon that, again, I feel like has a very clear and defined, that high mid nasal thing, all those things. I would put the Del Mar as kind of a chameleon in between a bunch of these spaces, but also as kind of one of those, it can be your all-purpose, transparent, just kind of general clean boost to mid-gain overdrive. But that would be underselling it, because in earnest, and I'm sorry for burying the lead here, I think this is the best overdrive I've ever played. I think that this is the sound in my head when I think of the idea of a transparent drive that I like, or a tube screamer voice thing, but that I actually like. This is what I've been looking for. The clipping in this thing is amazing. The drive articulation is so good. It's so crunchy. It does things with clarity on humbuckers, but it also breaks up so wonderfully with single coils, and so many mid-gain overdrives just feel like they are underwhelming. They're lackluster when you put them into a low output pickup scenario. and the Del Mar does not suffer from that in any capacity. The active EQ bass and treble controls on this thing are perfectly tuned. You can get a lot of bright, airy crispness out of that treble boosting. You can get great cut and articulation and teeth on your drive, or you can dial it back for something a lot more mellow. You can clean up your low end in that perfect way where you can play chords on your neck pickup without sounding muddy, but also without sounding thin and brittle. The engineering on this thing is just so good. I don't know how to kind of talk about how much I like this thing without just sounding like I'm ranting and raving like a madman. And it bears true in a real world context. I played a gig last weekend where I put together a board using the Del Mar, the DRV, the Sick As, and a couple of boost pedals. And I used the Del Mar for about 85% of the set because in almost every circumstance, this or this with a boost in front of it was exactly what I needed. When you talk about the idea of the sound in your head for overdrive, for delay, for whatever, the feeling you get when you find the pedal or the piece of gear that accomplishes that sound in your head thing is so satisfying and such a revelatory aha moment. The Del Mar is doing that for me in terms of mid-gain overdrive, especially mid to high gain overdrive, because honestly, this thing has a lot more gain in it and a lot better clipping in it than you would expect from something called mid-gain overdrive. I'm gonna stop ranting and raving because this is gonna get way too long-winded, and let's just jump into our sound samples. We're gonna start things off by taking a look at our overall gain structure of the pedal, kind of min-maxing that gain, as well as taking a look at our two toggle positions with a light dabble in the EQ using my Jennings Voyager here with McNelly Chaplin humbuckers. We've got the pedal with knobs at noon to start, and then we will really start kind of digging into everything. Okay, let's talk through our signal chain really quick. I am playing a Bondi 2026 compressor, the Benson Germanium Boost, the 1981 Inventions DRV, the Bondi Sick As, and the Bondi Del Mar into the Strymon Timeline, Bigsky, and Flint in stereo, out to our amplifiers, which are going to be the Universal Audio Dream and Ruby in stereo, basically an AC30 and a Fender style amplifier. So starting in the down clipping position, which is going to be that more open, airy tone that we talked about, higher headroom, a little bit more volume naturally coming through the pedal. Let's take this drive control nice and far down and see how we can kind of use this thing as a clean boost. The really great thing about some of that kind of like low gain, clean boosty stuff is the ability to use those active EQ controls to kind of cut and boost where you want. So like you jump over to that neck position, even on humbuckers. You can actually kind of add a lot of sparkle and clarity and really like de-mud up that low end. verses. Which also makes for like a great kind of bitey bridge position tone as well. Or something really kind of warm and mellow. Okay, let's take that drive up to kind of what I would call kind of like solid low mid gain, where you just start to get a little bit of that breakup and everything. We'll put those EQ controls back to noon, and then we'll again start boosting and cutting a little bit to kind of showcase how you can really tailor this to be as well balanced as you need it to be. If you want a little bit less treble on that, a little less kind of like teeth and a little bit more warmth, that bass control really is very reactive. But again, you can do like a ton of treble boosting and a little bit of bass cutting to really add a lot of kind of that like even on that even on those bridge position stuff, which is great because like you can get like an almost single coily kind of spank out of this with a little bit of that treble boost and a compressor up top, which we are about to throw in the form of that 2026 with like a hard knee. Which is also great because like that bass control is so round and comfortable. Let's throw in a little bit of a dotted eighth delay afterwards. being able to throw a compressor and a kind of like bass boosted drive like this on a neck humbucker and not have it get muddy is really cool. Jumping back to that bridge pickup, taking that that delay and that compressor back out. One of my favorite things here is dialing that bass back a little bit, giving that treble just a little bit of teeth, take that gain up just a hair. Right about here is what I would kind of consider to be basically my sweet spot in that down position. And one of my favorite things to do in this position is grabbing a really good boost and putting it out in front. In this case, it's going to be that Benson Germanium Boost, which adds, let's take the Del Mar out for a second, which adds a little bit of saturation and a little bit of compression by way of that germanium diode in there. So let's listen to Dry. And then that germanium boost. It's subtle, but there's a little bit of gravity that comes into that. So back without, let's bring in the Del Mar in kind of my like idealized setting right there. Now bring in that Benson Boost. And then without that boost. But again, the thing that I really love about the Del Mar is that you don't need all that much boosting or anything ahead of it, because even just hitting noon, the amount of gain you have on tap here is really, really impressive. And I love that you don't have to dial off that bass and that treble as you kind of like sweep through that drive control. Everything stays very balanced the whole way across. And I think that's because there's a little bit of that clean tone kind of in that blend of the drive that really kind of like helps keep things very clear and focused in a way that I think not a lot of drives are able to accomplish. Like, listen to the difference here. Like, it feels like the core of what your guitar's tone is stays intact really well, while adding a lot of great clipping and saturation. But again, being able to cut that bass and get a lot of clarity and bite out of these high gain settings. Like some legitimately like tight riffing out of this, and we're not even in the tighter clipping mode. Oh, let's hit full drive just for the sake of having done it. I know it's like a cliche to talk about a drive being touch responsive, but we are boosting bass and treble, and we have gain at max. You can hear the noise in the rig from just the amount we're hitting the front of our amplifiers and everything else. And yet we can take this and also do this. Which is really, really impressive. Okay, let's do a quick run through as well of that up toggle position. The thing you're going to notice right off the bat, let's take everything at noon, is going to be that volume difference that we'll use the output to make up for a little bit. But then as we kind of roll, you'll notice a little bit less dynamic range and a lot more kind of focus and almost a little bit more mid-range presence. You hear that there's a little bit less treble, more mid-range frequencies, more mid-range harmonics for sure, and a little bit less volume. So just to keep things from feeling artificially smaller, just the way that our ears work when we hear quieter sounds. Bring that output up a little bit to match. So this position is really, really great too, because I find that in the up position, I tend to keep that treble boosted a little more frequently than I don't, just to get some of that clarity from that down position back, which really gives you the ability to kind of create a best of both worlds scenario in that up position. And the nice thing is you're going to get, like I said, more consistency and a little less kind of like explosive headroom stuff. I love that headroom in that down position. But there's something really great about the focus of that down position tends to be kind of like how I envision solo guitar filling a room, and up position tends to be like probably what I would use recording on an album. And you can do some really cool stuff with that, like bass cut clarity, bringing that compressor back in and that neck position in this mode. Let's take that compressor back out. Okay, let's take that drive up because this mode is really great for kind of that focused drive sound. Again, that focus and that lower dynamic space in the up position really, again, kind of like lends itself to that. So again, those more focused dynamics on this this up position right here, I think do lend itself well to really kind of dialed in specific stuff. Like I love the big rockuous kind of power chordy nonsense of that down position. I really love kind of like the driving factor that you get in that up position. So like throw on some like additional delay and reverb and stuff and be able to kind of really do those. Take that last part out. Yeah, there's a lot of gain there. I mentioned earlier what a big deal it is to be able to feel like you're getting everything you need out of an overdrive pedal with single coil guitars, especially if you're used to kind of playing more like humbucker based guitars into your like light to medium gain overdrives. This is my bunting Melody Queen with a wolf tone bridge pickup and a Mojo gold foil in the neck. We're going to take a look at that active EQ on the Del Mar, those low and high controls. how versatile they are, how you can use those to further tailor exactly what you want out of your overdrive, as well as take a look at some of that gain staging again with a different set of pickups. Okay, let's take a look at these EQ controls. So we've got everything at noon, down position. Let's go ahead and, especially with a guitar like this bunting that, is going to naturally have a little bit lower output and a little bit more sparkle, but a little bit more kind of focus in terms of like not having a ton of like really pronounced lows. And let's see how we can really kind of cut and accentuate that in a meaningful way. So we've got our Del Mar back to kind of ideal, like we discussed earlier. Kind of like what I would use as an always on overdrive, or like 80% of my set kind of drive sound. And now let's play with those EQ controls to see how you can really fine tune that, especially with a guitar like this bunting that doesn't have like monstrous lows or super piercing highs. One of the things that I really love about this guitar is how focused it is how kind of sit in a mix it is supposed to be as a guitar. And so let's go ahead and dial up some kind of more specific applications using just those bass and treble controls at this gain stage. It's funny, even with that bass almost completely taken out, I can still find like a really compelling use case for that, which would be like, I jump up to that neck position, this gold foil I've got, and if you've got like a ton of bass in there, it sounds great, but it maybe has a little bit more low kind of mud than I want it to, just by the merit of being kind of an overdriven neck pickup playing chords. But you take it down to this, and in the bridge position, it almost has that kind of like radio, like old school radio lo-fi thing. But in that neck position, I think right about there is kind of the floor for me. But that sounds, I mean, I would use that for a rhythm guitar tone all day. And then conversely, start to roll that bass up a lot. If you need this, your single coil guitar to really kind of like growl and hold down the low end of your rhythm section, you can get something really good out of that, especially if you jump up to that up position, add a little bit more of that output, and crank that low end. You can get like a really great focused. And now on the other end of things, we've talked a lot about that treble. This being kind of a Klon meets Tube Screamer with some blues breaker DNA caught in the other side. This treble control does a lot and is really well balanced, which I love. Again, the funny thing is what I've experienced with this thing is the EQ sitting within 1 or 2 notches of noon in either direction on my bridge pickup is almost always my preferred sound. I tend to take pretty small, mild swings with this active EQ when I'm playing on that bridge tone, because obviously boosted active treble into kind of what are already pretty well balanced clean amps can get really kind of ice picky. But whereas this is way better. But honestly, jumping into that neck position, that gold foil, bass cutting and a pretty significant treble boost is actually pretty manageable and can give you something really kind of biting and sing-songy about a neck pickup, which is really cool. I actually think that sounds amazing. I haven't hit that before. That's really good. Can we take it all the way without it being terrible? It's a bit far. But when do you want your treble completely maxed out like that? A nice heavy treble boost still sounding great like this? Let's throw that compressor back in just because I think that's going to be the sound right there. Give it a little bit more drive and a little bit more bass, honestly. I like that as like a really fuzzy, like delayed out sound. But yeah, even if you take that delay back out. Let's take that to that upper clipping mode too.